Hi Shruti.
Hey Obi, how are you?
Fine, thanks, and how are you?
I'm awesome, thank you.
Very well. Hi everyone. This is World Optometry Day, and I've got the awesome privilege and the opportunity of hanging out with the awesome Shruti Desai. It's like wow. You know, Shruti, considering where your practice is located, how busy you are, thank you so much for setting time aside for us to have this interview with you.
It's always a pleasure, Obi. Always a pleasure.
Now Shruti, every time I come to your practice, you're wearing the most amazing eyewear. What's the story about your eyewear? How many pairs of spectacles do you have?
So, I wouldn't go into how many pairs I have. I'd probably go more into what makes me feel the best of me at that moment in time. So, say the pair I've got on today, I saw it, felt it was different, it was unique, it was something I didn't have in my wardrobe. And again, you know, eyewear needs to match your personality, and that's what we sell. We need to frame a personality, we need to frame ourselves, we need to make ourselves feel good about ourselves.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And if a frame makes you feel good and a frame makes you feel comfortable, then wear it. Obviously, synergize with the lens part, make sure your vision's corrected, you know, get on board with suppliers. But the main thing is, if it defines your personality and gives you a slight edginess, because people ask you, oh, what is that? That's what I'm after.
I like that. And looking at your practice, every piece has its own like focus on it. It's like there was a specific thought process that went into how you display your frames. You didn't just put a whole bunch of frames on display. Why is that?
So again, I think if you look at the journey, and you look at where I want to be in the future, it's about aligning myself with frame manufacturers that have a future vision of providing not only just a frame, providing something high quality, something that's recognizable, something that people love. I mean, we all go and we can spend lots of money on clothes, but we don't go spend money on our eyewear. And eyewear is an essential part of our lives. Okay, yes, you may not need spectacles, you may not need a prescription to help you see, but you know, it's such an important part of our faces that we need to frame it. We need to make sure we've got something that's unique. And again, looking at each supplier and seeing what they have, and you know, a word that one of my colleagues overseas uses a lot is curating.
Wow, I like that.
You curate the frames. So you create. So I curate my brands. So I think about what brands I want to have in the store and what brands that I can grow with, and go from there.
I like that because that's even if someone is sitting in Ghana, even if someone is sitting in Kenya, Nigeria, the whole thing about eyewear still applies. You might not even be able to afford to keep or stock high quality brands, but you can make sure that each and every single piece within your practice has a specific purpose to it. So for that young optometrist who has just opened up their practice, whether it be here in South Africa or in Namibia, for example, what advice would you give them when it comes to selecting the type of frames? And is there a role that staff play when it comes to the pieces that you have within the practice?
So I think first it's vision. Okay, so I'm always going to come back to what your vision is for the business. If you want to be high end, or if you want to be bespoke, then that's going to be your focus.
Okay.
You can't say you want to be bespoke and choose eyewear that's bespoke, but then at the same time not follow the So you decide what you want to be, decide what frames you want to sell, and obviously with that becomes expanded knowledge.
Right.
So see what's out there.
Thanks. So I don't mind that left you in.
I think the problem is we are all in our own little
Okay,
worlds.
great.
And
Thanks
we
a
need
lot,
to
sir.
expand the knowledge.
Thanks, Ruth.
Cheers.
And we need to expand our knowledge into what's available and not just take what comes through our doors.
I hear you.
So, you know, advice is, okay, so if you like a brand, go for it. Choose that brand. Support that brand. Sell that brand like it's the only one you have. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what price point it is, but make sure that when you're putting that piece on a person's face, that optically works. So you know your pupil sizes are correct, you know your sec heights are correct, you know your OC heights are correct, and make sure it fits, make sure temple length is fine, and it's simple things. You know, it's simple things we don't necessarily learn in university or even in practice, but it's applying principle. You know, you're doing a beautiful lens, but you've got a frame that doesn't fit on the nose bridge, and so I think you have to look at the basics first.
So dispensing is a critical component within your business. Like, it's not a rushed process. It's not about I walk into a lot of practices, and I've seen a lot of times optometrists coming out of the practice. Perhaps that practice doesn't have a dispenser on site, and they literally just hand over the file to the staff members to select frames, but they have not necessarily trained the entire team with regards a person that walks in with these needs. These are the options that are available. These are the type of frames, these are the type of brains, these are the trends, these are the styles, these are the, like you said, it's all about curating that whole process. So would you say that, where can that be taught?
So I think if I look at, say, my history within the stores, I would have loved to have a dispenser in the store, purely from a handover point of view, from a, you know, an ease of work point of view. But I think what that's taught me, beyond not having a dispenser, is relying and maybe hopefully training as best as I can with frontline staff to say, you know, I'm out, I'm done with this patient, we're being aggressive, it's fairly high script, so don't go for this, go for that. And they know exactly what I'm talking about. So, you know, I think it also comes with experience. They need to know what I'm asking for, and sometimes I would have come out and said, you know, that's the wrong frame choice, can we stop again?
So you're bold enough to actually make those calls.
Yes.
And okay, I like it.
And bold enough to also hand over to somebody who's maybe more focused with what works on a person.
Okay.
So I may choose a frame, but Latoya may, for instance, choose a much nicer option in terms of a fit or a color. And so that synergy is important.
So staff then know that the final call when it comes to style, preference, trends, it's not necessarily your call. Everyone is involved, and they make the patient involved in that process as well. So then the question then becomes, how often do you then have sort of like staff training or staff meetings where you're discussing or training your team to get to the level that your practice, because you spoke about vision in your one. So it means for there to be vision, or for the vision to come to pass, your team needs to be aware of that vision. So how often are you guys
So it needs to be a constant process. So if I had to look at the beginning, yes, we would have a lot more sit-down sessions. Now we kind of know how to work with each other, and so it's much easier. It's a learning process.
Okay.
I don't want to keep teaching the same thing. So once the process is learned, you don't have to keep teaching it. Again, it's a very simple philosophy: nose bridge, temples, and how does the frame fit on the face. It doesn't have to be relearned. It's also very intuitive. So obviously, if somebody's not understanding that process, we have to continue to train that person.
Okay.
But if the process is there and it's understood, fine. Because the frames change. I mean, frames change every week. Frames change every quarter. So if the basic principles are there, then you can work on that. And then from a supplier point of view, we have to train regularly.
I hear you.
Yes.
Well, you spoke about vision earlier on,
Yes.
and as much as you've got all these, or this bespoke approach to your eyewear, your frames, and everything, but from a clinical point of view, you are also operating at a very high level in terms of the clinical competency that the practice or the practices that you run are known for. How was that process unfolding, and what role did your team play in ensuring that your practice, as much as people are coming here for brands and all of that, but also they're coming for the clinical competence that the practice is known
So it comes with being uncompromising.
for? Okay?
And
Elaborate.
saying every patient will get the eye test, which comprises of your normal, checking your vision, checking all the important things that we need to do. Everybody gets a fundus, everybody gets a topo, everybody gets optometry. So there's no patient that doesn't go through the whole realm of tests. Purely because if you want to diagnose, if you want to dispense, you have to understand the full picture. And from a clinical, you have to be uncompromising. You have to know that you've done everything for that patient when they walk in the door. You've checked for their dry eyes, you've checked for any pathology, you've checked that you've calibrated that lens to the point where it's going to give that person the vision they need.
Wow.
Not necessarily always clean, but giving them comfortable, clear vision. So it's a process again.
Wow, I like that, because from what I'm gathering from what you say, you're not thinking of your practice in relation to how many patients that you can see per day, but you've got, okay, there's 5 patients booked for today, and you're ensuring that those 5 patients are getting the best quality eye care that they need and deserve. So you're checking everything. And do you feel that the next generation, this might be controversial, but do you feel that the next generation have that sense of vision, that they can see the bigger picture, that they're not coming into practices where they're thinking just about, let me see as many patients as I can, cutting corners? Where do you feel that young people are right now?
So maybe I'm going to give a bit of history on mine.
Okay.
And maybe you'll get perspective, and maybe people can grab onto that. So from my point of view, where I came from is I actually was employed in a mass franchise practice when I first started working, and I started working when I was in university.
Wow. Say that, like.
By the time I got to work in a practice, I was seeing 15 people a day. And I'm actually grateful to my first boss for doing that to me, because it taught me to be efficient. It taught me to think about accurately how I want to do this process. Yes, I wasn't doing fundus photography. I wasn't doing any of that. I was doing basic tests, the plan, IOP, and I was doing an optometrist work. And you learn to be super efficient, which is great. But then you realize what you don't want as a practitioner. I don't want to be testing 15 people a day. I want to be doing 5 to 8 a day in my ideal day. And I think where we are from a young optometrist point of view is maybe they didn't have the data that they needed. So yes, as much as my mentor or my first boss was my mentor, pushed me to push the limits on how much I can do in a day, they could also push my business limits.
Okay.
So it made me understand the business. So again, I think where maybe the younger folks have lots of challenges with them is they don't have those types of mentors.
Where are they? Is the problem on the side of the mentors, or is the problem on the side of the mentees?
Both.
Okay, in what way?
So if I look at myself, and I'm going to put it out there, I've had students come in to me, but I felt that they weren't the right fit for me, and so I didn't take them on.
Okay.
I want to mentor people who I feel have a certain drive.
Okay.
And I may not be good at gauging it initially, but after the second, third interview, I'm pretty good at figuring out, okay, maybe it's not the right ways. And again, we all have to be selfish in this. If I'm going to mentor someone, I'm going to mentor them, and I'm going to grow them to be in my business or in a future business.
Which is fair.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Because you're giving time, you're giving effort, you're putting lots of energy into this person. And, putting effort and energy into people when they don't eventually join your business can be very draining. And then you're sort of like, okay, let's wait before I do the next person.
So then, on that, what can that young optometrist, male or female, black or white, comes into the practice, what are some of the things that they can do to change their mindset? Because it's a mindset thing. A lot of students or a lot of optometrists, whilst they're students, they're not working in practices during their university years, and they're not exposed to various types of practices, so that when they qualify, they already know this is the type of environment they're working. So what are some of the things with someone who never had that opportunity coming in? The only thing that they know is the academic environment. What can they start doing in the beginning where they can spark that drive?
So I think it's a few things. So I think one, get a job in your practice. Whether it's at a practice, whether it's a retail outlet, whether it's at a doctor,
Just get a job.
And the problem is that if you're not getting a job, you're not getting the world experience, you're not getting the experience of dealing with people, you're not getting the experience talking to people. And if you're coming straight from university into a position, there's a lot of things you actually don't know about practice. So, let alone practice, let alone business, let alone social skills. So, I think there's a difference between social skills in a friend environment, in a university environment, and there's a difference between social skills in a work environment.
True.
So, I think building the social skills in a work environment, even if it's corporate, supervision, say, can I walk around with one of your reps? Sorry, I put supervision out there, sorry. But it's
No, it's fine. I mean,
it's really positive.
at the end of the day, Africa Media, it's all about bringing all of us together. So whether you mention it or not, it's great because at the end of the day, there's so many companies, lens companies, frame companies. At the end of the day, this whole platform, it's about creating an opportunity to get the young people at the level at which they're supposed to be, to get the industry operating at the level it's supposed to be. So don't stress about
So I think from an industry point of view, and maybe that's where sometimes the industry also gets tired if you do too much and it's not reciprocation from the student side. So the students will go, they'll go talk, sit at a talk, and they won't be they'll wait for the freebie, but they won't necessarily listen. So I understand from the supplier end and the industry point of view that we do so much and we get nothing much out. So I think from a student point of view, if they're researching, they're reading, don't worry about the worry about the world, worry about what's happening overseas. What is the industry like in China? What is the industry like in India? What is the industry like in Europe? What is the industry like in Africa? The rest of the African countries. And going from there. And I think then bringing understanding where they want to be in country.
Wow. I like that. Since the start of African Media last year, I mean, we've always done a call to action for people to come on board. Surprisingly so, you've got countries like Morocco, Egypt, up north, as well as Nigeria. Young students are reaching out to African Media and are saying, hi, I'm finishing this year. Is there an opportunity in your company that I can be able to upskill myself? Just the other day, a lady, a young optometrist in Morocco, reached out to us to say, hey, can I do like some form of part-time work with you guys? And I realized that not all areas in the country, in the continent, have that drive within them. So
and I think what students say, not only South Africa, but maybe sub-Saharan Africa, or actually, if we talk within the South African context, is we're very isolated. We don't think about a global perspective. So we're not competitive in a global perspective.
okay.
If you think they're South Africans.
Yeah.
We're not competitive. And until you realize you're this small in this big industry, and if that scares you enough, you start making different. So I think changing perspective and starting to understand that it's not about now. If you want to build something, you're going to build it for 10 years. I open practices after 10 years of working in different industries.
Not the first year. Interesting.
Never. I learned what I didn't want
Wow.
to be before I knew what I wanted.
Wow. I like it. I feel the same way. I think the reason why I'm not in practice was because the first, like you said, the first 10 years, I spent it in different environments, and I realized that actually this is not for me. So I started working from first year. I was one of 2 students that worked in first year optometry school. Came up to Joburg, I was in the infant came up to Joburg working. And Shruti Desai, she was a student, a classmate of mine, good friend. We attended our first conference in our first year of optometry school. It was the SOA conference. We were the only students at the conference. But you know what that exposed us? We got to see that, wait a minute, so and so is speaking on low vision, so and so is speaking on pediatrics, this one is speaking on contact lenses. And we're like, okay. We went back the second year, all of a sudden the same people are speaking. Oh, they're regarded as experts. Oh, they're regarded as industry key opinion leaders. So we learned a lot of things early on. The time we were in our final year, we had already spent our holidays in contact lens oriented practices, pediatric oriented practices, based on those relationships that we had established very early on. So the time we started working, we already knew what environments would be most ideal for us. And so I hear you when you say it took you 10 years being exposed to a lot of things. The time you opened up these amazing practices of yours, you actually knew exactly what type of practice you wanted. And so vision, it goes back to the whole thing. One thing that I keep hearing from you non-stop is the element of vision. Have you always been like that?
Yes.
Wow.
So I have a very strong synergy with my husband in terms of where we want to be in the future and what future we want to be. And vision is very key to that, purely because how do you drive yourself if you don't know what you're driving to? How do you know what car you want to drive? How do you know what you want to be? How do you know where you want to be? How do you know if you want to create a business like this or not? Whether you have the right. The other thing is you have to know that you want it, but you have to build your capability to do it.
I like that.
So you can't say you want to be like this, but not have the background to do that. So in my case, I did a business diploma. It wasn't an MBA, it wasn't anything fancy, but I did a business diploma. So I could understand where were my shortcomings.
Sure.
Which I didn't get at university. I got it work life. I got 10 years of working. That's where I got my work experience. And so and for me, the youngsters, and I'm going to call them that's where they have to start thinking. They have to start thinking, okay, if Shruti at her age is thinking about future-proofing herself, why can't I think about me future-proofing myself?
Wow.
And I think that's the key, because in 10 years' time, we don't know where Optometry is going to be. We don't know if it's going to be virtual. We don't know if it's going to actually exist in the format that it does. We don't know whether we're going to be able to go any other kind of practice. And so how do we almost retain it? How do we protect that? And that's very important to think about.
Wow. To all the young people that are watching this all over the continent, I can personally testify to the practices that Shruti is running. Absolutely world class, and I see so much that she does with the team, with the suppliers, with just every detail within her business. And so one thing that I would like to encourage you is get a mentor. That is so important, that within the area that you're working in, if there are no mentors, social media right now plays a positive role in connecting with all of us together in ways that it didn't 10 years ago. So prioritize getting yourself a mentor. A person that you can be able to look up to, be honest with, walk the journey with, and a person that you will be able to say, hey, I'm struggling with this, I need help. And a person that you won't have to rely on to. Because a mentor-mentee relationship is not about you always showing the mentor that which you want them to see, but it's about growing in areas that you were struggling with before. And so that's very, very important for you guys to get that. But on another topic, this might be a very, I don't want to mention this, I was trying to avoid it, but we're having so much fun, so I might as well ask you the question. Race, race diversity, black, white on the continent. The old guard.
Yes.
The old guard. Do you feel that, irrespective of the race, do you feel that in your personal experience, what's going on? Are we pulling each other in the right direction? I walk into a lot of practices, and sometimes there's a certain generation of optometrists who have become complacent. They can't wait for retirement. They've got no interest in making things better for the next generation. Then there are the same age group of leaders who are going out of their way to go down there and lift as they arrive. So do you feel that the industry in South Africa, in Africa as a whole, there's a long way to go in terms of the racial divide that exists in our industry?
So I think you have to look at it from a, and I'm trying to be diplomatic, but I'm also going to try not to be. You have to look at it from a history perspective, and you have to look at it from a future perspective. So from a history perspective, you have to look at the history of our country, where we were, who were the individuals that were privileged to own practices, not mine, maybe not even mine, just the fact that you could own a practice. And yes, I'm a little bit worried for the future, because until they hand over, what is then going to happen to the industry? Because 10 years from now, there are going to be a lot of optometrists who are going to start retiring. Where are those businesses going? Are the youngsters coming in ready for this challenge?
Sure.
I want to work for the next 10 years in practice in terms of the way I am now. Then what? So I'm already trying to build that capacity within my business. And I think for a message to those important leaders or important people in our industry is you have to share your knowledge. You have to share your journey. You have to share your reservations about the industry. Because if you close your practice down because you're too scared to let somebody else come in and learn from you, that's a loss.
Sure.
And it's a loss to the patient base. So it's a loss to your customer base that you built something, now you don't want to hand over, and then what happens? And I've seen it in practices where they sell, they move hands. The next generation doesn't understand what was happening previously. And then they lose business, and they lose money, and then they've lost a business that was actually doing really well.
Yeah.
And as much as maybe the mentor-mentee idea is a brilliant one, it needs to be worked on, and it needs to be, it really needs to be almost indoctrinated in optometry, like every other industry.
Correct.
Like any industry, and I think it then works on the common sense principle. You can't be working like how we are currently. We have to move forward. We have to get these youngsters involved, and they need to, at the same time, take responsibility and take ownership and start showing their worth. So both ways.
Yeah.
It's both ways. And
I agree with you. I agree with you fully.
and we can play the race card, and we can say, these people are more privileged than those, but at the same time, we're 20 years beyond that.
You know what? I agree with
You
you.
start moving
You
forward.
can make those excuses, but they can actually be a crutch that you utilize to go forward. And I realized that I once asked at a conference that I was part of that why am I the only black speaker at this particular conference? And they sent me the list, the conference organizers who had been organizing conferences for the previous years. They sent me the list of the past 5 years, the abstracts that had been submitted by various people within the industry. And in that 5 years, it was the same people that were sending out the abstracts. No new people were coming in. So sometimes on the outside, you look at like why are the same people always submitting the abstracts. And then they showed me the call for abstracts when it was made and who submitted year after year. And I said then I was like, wow. And then I went on my work, this was 3 years ago, and I started talking to my colleagues to say, hey guys, be aware of these dates when companies send out their abstracts. 2 years later, I double checked in the same company to say how many people have sent in their abstracts. It was still the same faces. So it goes both ways. And sometimes you could be looking at it from the outside and thinking, what is affecting you? Thinking that the people that are in positions of influence and power are not willing to change, but then the people that are outside of that environment, they're not going into that.
They want to join the circle.
100%.
So I think, and for optometry it's very important. And if I see the medical profession, just say from a doctor's perspective, because I also had a lot of doctors that come to us, and it's about confidence. So I have a really good surgeon that's just up the road from me. And if that lady walks in, she's the same age as me, she's a specialist physician, and the patients that go to her love her. And they go to her not because of the competency, but because of the service and the care that she provides.
Wow.
Young but powerhouse in her brain, and she knows what she's doing, and it comes from that confidence. And I deal with these people, and I look at their confidence, and I sort of like, perfect, I'm gonna be like that. And again, it's what do you hold on to?
Sure.
If you can't be afraid anymore, there mustn't be a boundary, because at some point we all have to move our journey forward. If I look at my color of my skin and say, oh, just look at Santon, I'm the only Indian person looking in Santon. Where would I be?
You can't think like that.
You can't think like that. I came here as an opportunity. I saw the opportunity. I said, let's go with it. This is what I want to not be. This is what I want to be, and go for it. Don't use color. And almost, build the respect, and then people will respect you. I know it's difficult, and I know it's a very long journey, and people don't want to take that journey over me. I'll be honest with you. People want the easy way.
Yeah.
And my take back is take the difficult road. Use the money, do the hard work, do everything you have to do. But stand your ground, don't lose your respect for yourself.
Wow, I like that.
And then move forward.
Wow.
And then you earn the respect.
Wow, I like that. That's the thing you made me almost finishing, but you made me realize something years back. I was locally in a practice in Brakbak, and there was near the Breitenbach. And he came into this practice, and apparently what had happened, he had booked his entire family, and they were used to seeing a Caucasian optometrist. And I was there. Optometrist called me late the previous night, so I was an emergency call at this particular practice. Long story short, he was not happy. And I remember I made that call right there and there. And instead of being upset that this guy does not want to be tested by a black optometrist, I went to him and I said, Mr. Greatenbach, and I spoke Afrikaans with him. And I told him that, I'm a young optometrist, but I've been working in the most amazing practices. I'm very competent in what I do. Can I test your eyes? I will pay for the eye test myself and go in, depending on the service that you're getting, which I assure you will be the best eye test that you've ever received in your entire life. I would love to test your entire family. And he looked at me in complete shock, because I didn't approach him with that you being racist, whatever thing. We went into the examination room, and obviously I started with fusional reserves and Maddox rod, and I did all the tests that no one else does. So the first 5 tests that I did were of complete irrelevance to him, but it built that, wow, okay, I've never seen this before, so I approached it differently. Afterwards, we saw his whole family, everyone was impressed, and when he came to pick up his glasses, I said to him, Mr. Breitenbach, understand where you're coming from, but understand what you did to me in that moment, and that has to change. So, like you said, you either make the excuse, or you decide right there and then, this is the vision that I have, this is how I'm going to change things, and you go around
that
way.
That's the turning point. We all have that in our careers. That's that turning point where you can say, okay, I can't do this, I'm too scared, I don't want to. To shift it and say, I can do this, I'm strong enough. And say, you know what, I'm going to prove my way.
Like that.
And, practices like mine are built because of hard work and talk and being the best of yourself, and sometimes killing yourself because you want to build something that's of value, you want to build something that's recognized. And people ask, why do you do that? I'm not proving anything to anyone, I'm just proving that I can be the best that I can be.
I like that.
And that's what everybody has to do. Everybody has to build themselves to be the best that they can be and challenge themselves on a daily basis. That's and that's it. And don't use your race as a card to play disadvantage.
Yes.
We have to think of ourselves as individuals and move forward.
I like that. This was absolutely amazing, Shruti. One thing that makes me come to your practice every single time I get an opportunity to come into this branch or the other branch in Bryanston, is that there's a long walk to freedom. It's a very long walk from the front desk to the door. But one thing that stands out is your entire team calls people out by their names. It's as if you guys have learned every one of your patients' names. Was that important for you, and how has that impacted your business? Because it doesn't matter who comes in, you guys are always calling them by their name. It's as if you go out of your way to acknowledge people, to make them feel comfortable, for them to know that you guys care. Those small little things I have observed as being such a difference maker in your practice. Why is that important for you?
It's important because you have to balance the professional, you have to balance the customer service end. So if you're calling somebody by their name, that means I know you, I respect you, thank you for being here.
Like that.
Because without that person, this business doesn't exist.
Like that.
Without the hard work we've gone into doing that, it wouldn't exist. So it's also about value, right? Everybody wants to be valued. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to know that somebody cares about them. And I think for me, lockdown's taught me more of that. People have walked in, they're not seeing their family, and they're the first people they see.
Wow, what an interesting way of thinking about it, yeah.
You know, you just have to be human.
Wow.
And it's not about the amount of money they spend on their credit card when they walk into the door. It's about, I know you, I understand you, you've been coming to me for 12 years. If I don't know your name after 12 years, then you should not be coming here.
Yeah, that's
But,
true. Wow.
That's what it is. And
Wow.
it's about, you know, the humanness
Wow.
and care.
Wow.
And that's the next person is
That's
important.
amazing.
So,
That's amazing.
you know, yeah, we all have our moments. And sometimes when somebody just says, hey, Shruti, how are you? We're like, hey, I'm okay. You smile a little bit better. And if you were angry when you were just walking in that door and somebody says, hey, how are you? It kind of simmers them down. Just a little. So that's what it is.
Everyone, that was the World Optometry Day interview with the amazing Shruti. Africa Media is here to help you guys. Africa Media is a platform where you can come, young and old, black and white, Indian, colored. It doesn't matter your background, your environment. Come on board. Let's make optometry the best profession to be in. Let's take eye care on the continent to the highest possible level. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure you're connecting with us on all social media platforms. But most importantly, today, check out everything that the amazing Shruti does and follow her on her social media pages and the business. Absolutely incredible. Shruti, thank you so much. And we're going to chat again very, very soon when you give us feedback of all the students and young people that have connected with you from different parts of the continent who have reached out and asking for help. And it will be amazing that one day we can actually create like a mentorship hub of some sort, where as Africa Media, we're playing the role of pulling the previous generation and pushing the new generation to connect with one another.
That's the only way we can move forward.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm happy to be on board. So,
Cheers, everyone.